Texas lawmakers' bill has been added to the special session agenda. Republican Representative Joanne Schaffner says her bill allowing pharmacists to dispense ivermectin without a prescription would expand medical freedom. The drug is used to treat some parasitic infections, according to the Food and Drug Administration. Some, though, worry about the impact the bill would have. East Texas News' Michael Richardson reports.
It needs to be brought out in the spotlight so that everyday Texans are able to have this medical freedom.
Republican Representative Joanne Schaffner making her case for why ivermectin should be available over the counter, a sentiment that has drawn pushback, displayed at a public hearing for the bill on Friday.
I'm just a little worried that in this argument of medical freedom, we're going to put real people at risk.
The TMA is concerned that this bill will set a precedent whereby that physician-patient relationship is no longer part of the prescribing of medications which could have significant side effects.
As a result of COVID-19, pharmacy manager David Davis says employees at Drug Emporium received a lot of questions about ivermectin. The Food and Drug Administration has not approved the drug's use to treat the virus. Davis supports making ivermectin available without a prescription, adding there should be supervision.
I do think that there needs to be some regulations as far as the pharmacist talking to you, discussing it with you, counseling with you on it, so that you do know what you're buying and what you need to dose and how it needs to be taken.
Nacogdoches County Democratic Party Chair John Watt feels ivermectin should not be available over the counter.
There's all kinds of side effects that can occur from this drug, and without doctor supervision, I fear that it's going to cause more damage than good.
The bill is now pending in committee. Michael Richardson, East Texas News Weekend.
Look, Texas House Speaker Dustin Burrows provided us with a statement on the proposed ivermectin law. Reading in part, House Bill 25 represents a promising step toward greater medical freedom and choice for Texans by increasing access to ivermectin intended for human use.